Hello everyone, my name is Michael Valdiel-Martins, and this is my Assignment 1 presentation for Comp 3024. So, for this presentation I decided to go with wholesale market prices. Why not? Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so over here we have our table of contents. So we'll be going through each of these individually throughout the presentation, and then we'll take a deeper dive into it after we're done with the PowerPoint. So let's get to it. So, why cost of weekly wholesale market prices? Well, I kind of want to stay around the same topic with my last lab, which had to do with farms and their costs. So I just thought it would be good to kind of stick around that. And it's always been something that's interesting to me by checking which countries buy more of what produce and how much do these produce cost, and are they going up this year or have they been going down a lot? I just thought it was kind of interesting to kind of take a look into it and have a little bit of a deep dive. So first of all, how does this affect me? How does it affect us? Well, of course, the higher the price of wholesale prices, the higher the price for the items in our local grocery store, and the more money that comes out of our pockets. If it goes up there, it's going to go up everywhere else, right? How does this affect retailers? For this, I actually got a quote from an article I found online. So this one says, the decision is critical for retailers because it impacts their profits and profit margins. It is also critical for wholesalers who ultimately depend on retailers to set a price that consumers will find acceptable. I thought that was pretty straightforward. Yeah, it's hard for everyone once the prices go up, and you have to kind of match it so that way you still gain profit, right? All right, so what data will we be looking at? The data set we will be looking at today is the weekly wholesale market prices from the Government of Canada. We will be analyzing data by comparing the cost of certain items and calculate how much is being purchased by each country, as well as other statistics. So this is the pivot table that I created using Excel, using the clean data. So for this, I decided to go with top 10 goods sold between 2015 to 2019. On the bottom here, we have goods being sold or commodities, and the amount sold on the left here. So as you can see with the blue one here, that is apples. So apples was the most bought item throughout those years, which didn't really surprise me because of how popular apples are. Next in line would be over here. I think that would be potatoes, it looks like, over there. And then following it would be peppers, which they're all kind of around the same area except for mushrooms. But I just thought it was interesting to kind of have a good look to see which of these products is being sold the most. Cleaning the data in Jupyter Notebook. Alright, so for this, I was cleaning the data just so we can create some bar graphs and a Pareto table. So first, I imported pandas PD, grabbed the CSV file, clean up the data over here as well as over here, and then we got this chart down here. And using all this information, we decided to make a bar graph. How? Using the matplot libraries. So we have here the figure size, we got the bar inputting the data that we want from the columns we want to use, and then just labeling everything there. And this will get the cost for wholesale goods by country 2015 to 2019. So as you see on the bottom, here's all the countries, the amount spent on goods, and as you can see, US is number one when it comes to purchasing all of these, and then and it's actually pretty much doubling Canada over here as well. And then next in line would just be Mexico over here, and then everyone else is kind of on the low end, so it's not too much important. All right, continued Pareto chart code. So over here we're importing the matplot library again, as well as pandas, of course, and then we're grabbing the percentage format from this. So we get the values, we're sorting it by the price and sending it false. And then this is how we get the trend over here. putting the labels, and then the figure size of the graph as well as putting the info for the bar graph, and then just pretty much setting the title and then the colors of everything. So unfortunately, I could not get this to work the way I wanted it to. So it's kind of a disaster, so I apologize about that. I did get the bar graphs to work properly, and then the labels all worked as well. Unfortunately, the trend, I could not get the curve at all. I've tried for a few days and I still couldn't get it. So hopefully, by the time this presentation is completed, I would have figured it out. Alright, so calculating high-low cost average. So for this, I decided to make a measure in Power BI just because I thought it was kind of useless to kind of have a high and low. I thought it was better to just kind of have an average of between the two. And with that, I ended up using it for these charts on Power BI. So over here is the prediction chart. As you can see, I mean, in 2015, 2016, it didn't really progress that much, but throughout the years, it started progressing a lot more. Almost going up by, was that 5, 6, 7, about 7, I could say. And then, as you can see, the prediction shows that it's going to keep going up. And of course, with COVID and everything, it's probably even more dramatically higher up in this area, if I were to guess. But yeah, on the bottom we got the year, on the left average cost of goods. Alright, so over here is the percentage of goods bought. I just like this graph as well, just to kind of show which items were also the most sold. Similar to the other graph, we have apples taking up most of the space, with peppers and onions and tomatoes. For this one, I thought this one was really interesting, just to kind of see which general areas purchased from the wholesalers the most. As you can see, a lot of it is right in the middle of North and South America there, which I thought was really interesting. And then as well as Europe over here, and then it's kind of going to Asia, and then Australia and New Zealand. I just thought it was very interesting to see that info in that view. Oh, and this one as well, yes. So, as everyone knows, or even if you don't know, food is kind of sorted by grades, and the better the grade, the higher the price. And I thought it was kind of cool to kind of show you guys that perspective through this chart. As you can see, extra fancy, premium, and choice. Those are the top tier, most expensive commodities and goods. And on the bottom here, you have cost average, product grade, and then yeah, I just thought it was cool. These are all for apples, oranges, bananas, whatever you can name it. It covers it. I just thought it was kind of cool to take it from this side and have a good look at it, and how it could affect everything as well. So for references, everything, all pictures taken from Pixabay, of course, which is free. Got the data set from Open Canada, and that little quote I got this is the article I got it from, if you ever want to take a look and you're interested. And that is the end of this PowerPoint presentation. Now let's take a deeper dive into everything else. So let's close this for now. We're just going to go into the raw data first before we talk about the pivot table. So over here is all the raw data. As you can see, it came in English and French. So of course I'm going to get rid of all the French side of it, and then cleaning it so that way we only get the date, the center, the commodity, also goods, brand, grade, country, provincial/state, low price, high price, and package quantity. And this is where I created the pivot table. So for this, I just pretty much ended up putting commodity in legend, and then the count of it as well in the values, just to kind of get what we got here. All right. Next, we're going to go into the notebook here. So this is all the code that I used to get everything, get my CSV file here, get rid of anything null, changing everything else to zeros or NA so we can use it in the graph, so we won't get any errors for the values, and then I'm just displaying it over here. Alright, and then we have the import of matplot library, creating the graph over here as well. And then my atrocious looking Pareto table, which I will have to try to fix right after this week is over. Yeah, so that's where we got that information from. And now to my favorite part, Power BI tables. So before we get into that, I just want to show the measure again over here. We just grab the average of high price and the average of the low price, add it together, and just divide it by 2. It's pretty simple. And I ended up using that for all of these charts as well. So over here on the left, as you can see, is the prediction chart. We just ended up going over here, adding 10 years, 95%, and then adding 2 seasonality points just so it gets a better shape out of this prediction here. So it gives us a better idea of where it can go. And let's click on 2018. I can see 2018. These shifted a little bit, but they're all kind of pretty much the same. These here, it went up in choice. Washington Extra Fancy was a lot higher in that year as well. And even on the map, you can kind of see over here everything going smaller and bigger as well, where the countries maybe they didn't need it as much that year, or maybe they needed it more. Let's click off that. And with apples, I can see it just skyrocketed #1 right over here for the grade. And it's kind of average, an average range when it comes to the low and high price. It can either go up here or down here as well. And as you can see, it's a lot more popular in down here in South Africa as well, which I thought was pretty interesting. Even if I click on peppers, a lot of it. Let's see over here. Look, Dominican Republic. See, I would have never thought that by looking at this. I thought it was just so interesting. Even with like onions, as you see, Australia as a whole, they're the ones that want it the most, it seems, or need it the most out of everyone. Everyone else is kind of, it's not too much. And even when you take a look at this, the apples, they're the ones that are mostly in the extra fancy and premium. And then when you go to others, I don't think there seems to be. Oh, there you go. Pears. Pears is also extra fancy. United States #1, fancy #1, Canada #1. Same thing with the melons here. Oh, and even when I just click on one spot here, it also shows. That's actually really cool. Yeah, it also shows all the data contained just to that one area and like what they're buying specifically for the US. Over here, these kind of all disappear. Let's see, melons. And that is Honduras. It's just a really cool way of looking at all this data and just trying to see where all these wholesalers are selling to and the cost of everything compared by different produce depending on grade. I just thought it was really cool and interesting just to kind of have that kind of outlook on everything. So thank you everyone for tuning in to my presentation. I hope you thought it was interesting as much as I did, and thank you for your time. Have a great day.